Hello everybody, my name is Carson Chancellor, and this is my final project proposal for GEOG 589. It will be about the effects of fire return interval on invasive plant affected areas in pine flatwood systems. So a little bit of background on prescribed fire. It's commonly used as a management tool, not only here in Florida, but around the country and the world. It's used to manage for wildlife and native plants, as well as invasive plants. Basically, what it tries to do is replicate a natural process of wildfire that used to exist, and in doing so, creates a more natural sterile process. So invasive plant management here in Florida is pretty big, simply because we have so many of them, not only plants but animals as well. And it's become one of the most important issues, I guess you would say, as far as ecological management here in the state as of late. What a fire return interval is basically the time between burns, prescribed burns. This is usually 2 years for state-run lands, pine systems. It can be a little bit different depending on where you go in the country. But our system is 1 to 2 years, and that's trying to replicate a natural state of fire-induced wildfires. What I'm trying to do is give tools to managers who manage properties and utilize prescribed fire as a management tool, so they can better have more data and more input into their management plans, so they can understand the effects of fire return interval and how it affects invasive plants and the management, so they can better plan into the future for managing invasive plants. So some of the literature, and I found others, but a lot of it was saying the same things. What's most applicable about this was the seasonality of the fire intervals and the probable fire effect, and how this kind of categorical information kind of shed light on how I want to go about doing this as far as my method goes. Ultimately, this shaped a little bit of what I wanted my results to be, and I wanted that to be not only a kind of mapped approach, but also a statistical approach too. So I'll be using a harmonized version of the USGS Landsat 7 Collection 1 surface reflectance Tier 2 data from 2004 to 2020. Those dates were picked because the FWC provided prescriptions. They're a lot more user-friendly after 2004 and provided more information as to previous versions. I'll be using the red, green, blue, and NIR for both RGB and DVI. Additional to that is the FNAI species inventory data. It's basically survey data for plants on the area of interest. So before I get into the methods, I just want to go over what I'm actually going to be doing. So I'm basically, there's 67,000 acre property that's state run here in Southwest Florida that's composed of pine flatwoods. It is primarily managed with prescribed fire. What I hope to do is find control areas and areas of invasive plants. The control areas will be areas that only have native plants, and then the invasive areas will be areas that have a mixture of native and invasive plant species. Also, of those two, I need to find areas that were burned every 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and 5 years. And so when I run my analysis, I'll be looking for NDVI, and I'll be comparing my control areas to my invasive areas and hoping to find an area, a time fire return interval that closely associates with the control, meaning the NDVI will be lower as compared to the other fire return intervals. I'll be looking at the NDVI at the end of interval, and then of course the mean, the averages of both the invasives and the control groups. So I'll begin doing that by isolating the burn and control units through the FNAI and the FWC fire burn prescriptions. Next, I'll be building and testing the scripts, running the analysis through the scripts. We'll be taking the data from the analysis and running a statistical test. This will just be a simple t-test correlative between the control and the invasive burn areas. And then finally, building utilitarian maps and charts to represent the results. So my results to date, I began the data acquisition. Like I said before, the FWC burn prescription files are not digital; they're all paper. So this is taking a little bit of time. And additionally, I began building my script, and I'm almost complete. Everything looks good, but most of the time I'm spending is finding out the actual burn data, the applicable burn data. One of my unresolved questions is the effect of invasive density. So the FNAI only counts for occurrence, not density. So if I have a unit area that is 100% invasive and 0% native, this is obviously going to affect my results, and I'm still contemplating how I'm going to fix that. Additionally, the fire intensity data is only categorical through the prescribed burn prescriptions, and intensity has a very big impact on mortality, and I'm still pondering how I'm going to figure that one into the equation.